Lady from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz, is now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all of our witnesses for appearing before the committee. Given the election experts here, in a moment, I want to discuss the methodology that Cyber Ninjas used to come to the conclusions in its report. But first, Mr. Gates, how would you respond to Representative Gosar and Mr. Bennett's allegation that the county hasn't cooperated with the auditors? In particular, and why were you concerned about turning over routers to Cyber Ninjas?
Yes, so the issue of the routers is we had grave concerns from our sheriff and others at the county level that if we were to turn those routers over, it basically would have provided a roadmap for even a decent hacker to get into our system. So one, there were significant cybersecurity concerns. Secondly, this would have basically brought down our operations at the county, and we are the 4th largest county in the country. We've got to provide services to our residents every day. And then additionally, there would have been costs in putting that network back together. That's why we came to an agreement, as Mr. Bennett mentioned, with President Fan. And in that agreement, by the way, President Fan signed it saying that the county has fully complied with the subpoena. But just so that we wouldn't have these cybersecurity concerns, we have jointly agreed on former Congressman John Shadegg serving as the special master. Cyber Ninjas can ask questions about the routers and what went on there, and Congressman Shadegg will consult with IT experts, and they'll be able to provide answers to those questions.
Seems like a pretty basic principle of election integrity that the keeper of the routers and the protector of the integrity of our elections shouldn't be turning over the routers to a private organization that has absolutely no expertise in conducting audits. And that's really the premise of the rest of my questions. Mr. Becker, can you briefly describe how the method Cyber Ninjas used to count ballots differed from standard procedures? And really, what was the acceptable error rate for that process? And what error rate is typically permissible in standard audit procedure?
Thank you, Congresswoman. So in general, the way audits are conducted, and there is an established set of best practices for these, and these have been done extensively in many states and were done extensively in many states, including Arizona in 2020, is that generally there is a statistical random sampling of the ballots that is taken. They are reviewed by nonpartisan or bipartisan teams and observed by observers from all of the parties and the campaigns while this process is going on, and those tallies are then checked against the official tallies. This process is entirely transparent from start to finish, and very importantly, it is designed and defined well in advance of the election before anybody knows what the outcome of the election is. Georgia is a great example of that, where they literally counted every single paper ballot by hand. First time they'd had paper ballots in Georgia in 2 decades. When you're spinning ballots around on colored Lazy Susans, being observed by people who don't have adequate training, who have no experience in elections, where there are severe limitations on the ability of observers from across the political spectrum to view them, you're going to have significant problems with that process. The error rate is going to be extremely high. And yet, even with a high error rate and with an invalid process, what we saw was they could determine, they found no evidence that indicated that Maricopa County's processes yielded the wrong result. In fact, they, again, I would say this didn't confirm the result in any way because it was unnecessary. It was already confirmed under Arizona laws written by the Arizona Senate in advance of the election.
Thank you. An audit, when run well, verifies the results of an election and assures voters that their vote has been counted. But this circus didn't meet those basic standards because it wasn't really an audit. It was a gaslighting exercise funded by dark money groups who want to promote the big lie and undermine confidence in our elections. This conspiratorial worldview also infects Republicans in my home state of Florida, where a pending bill in the state legislature would conduct a forensic audit of the 2020 election, but of course only in counties that Biden won. And this effort is especially puzzling given that the noted Trump lackey, Governor Ron DeSantis, keeps praise on the 2020 election process. These so-called audits aren't about unearthing facts. They're about ginning up justification for repressive voting rights laws that prevent Black and brown people from access to the voting booth and helping Republicans lay the groundwork for setting aside the work of local elections officials so they can possibly usurp future elections. These are democracy corrosion exercises, nothing more. So thank you very much for your testimony, and I hope the committee remains continued, and I trust that we will continue to election integrity, not promoting the big lie as our colleagues have been doing since the end of the election. I yield back the balance of my time.